this is weekend thing. And he's also another township. And the clerk of the township. Calling himself judge. And you've never questioned him. What he's telling you, got a license. Got some insurance with my boy over there. Well, I had another job and and my mom, I had to get some food, and you're all scared and stuff, and you should straighten him right up. You see this writ in the nature of discovery? Since I'm in court, I already had it prepared. And then y'all got your copies. Get the clerk, give the man over there. And give him his, and the delegation of authority means, where's his license? Because that's the license from the people. And without it, he ain't who he say he is. But if you don't ask, he can be McDonald's cousin. He needs some money for the Poconos, and you're it. And that's what they've been doing to Negroes, blacks, and colors, because they don't know nothing about nationality and birthright, and they ain't interested. And so they keep giving up their rights, but they'll turn around and fund NAACP established by Jews who were protecting their stock. Do you understand where it comes from? It's not even like we don't have the finance to fund what's for us. We don't know priorities. We don't know what represents the de jure law and what represents color law because we haven't studied the fundamentals of civilization. Your mothers and fathers were the founders of civilization. Study the principles. You know, we go into history, we talk about, yeah, man, black man, he had a Songhai kingdom and empire, and we did no. You can't make black retroactive because they weren't black people. They were civilized beings. Black is a modern tag for civilized people who fell to slavery and lost their birthright. Don't confuse the two. Don't make the lie retroactive because as soon as you do it, they already got you in law. They ain't going to argue with you. They already know you got you. Black man that's over here with Freddie Jones. And you say, yeah. Well, you already know he got you. You're in the jurisdiction whether you claim to be or not because you're claiming a name that's not yours. You haven't what? Objected. Are correct? So what does it say here in propria persona in one's own proper person? Dwelly expressed to you all, be yourself, didn't he? Huh? Now let's look at this. In propria persona, that's a Latin legal term. And I want to get here because I want to have y'all see this while I'm reading this. In propria persona, in one's own proper person, it is a rule in pleading that pleas to the jurisdiction of the court must be, what does the word must mean? It didn't say may, does it? Must be pled in propria persona, emphasized, because, that's conditional, am I correct? Because if pleaded by an attorney, they admit the jurisdiction, as an attorney is an officer of the court, and he is presumed to plead after having obtained leave, which admits the jurisdiction, and then gives you some law case, which means if you're not in your proper person, they already got jurisdiction, so don't even talk about it. In propria persona, I-N, capital I-N, first. By itself, propria, capital P-R-O-P-R-I-A, one word. Persona, capital P-E-R-S-O-N-A. That's ancient Moorish Latin, means in one's own proper person. And the definition comes right after it and it says, in one's own proper person. Almost sounds like an oxymoron, doesn't it? So, in one's own proper person. That's a strong emphasis. That means you must actually and factually, for the public record, for the civilization, honor your mothers and fathers, because if you don't, the court already has jurisdiction over you. You're automatically a ward of court, and they already have leaves. It's no argument. You have no argument. That's why the judge tell you, my dog didn't eat lunch this morning. Shut up! Sit down! Take that hat off! And all this stuff. You tell them, I want your DOL. Now listen to me on this. In any issue that someone makes claim against you in the court, whether they tickets or not, delegation of authority order is vital. Writs means written documents, in the nature of discovery, is your right before they can proceed. Do you understand? And any claims against you. Commanded in writing of the court and the persons. Delegation of authority order is one of the issues that you're going to talk about. I'm going to do some things in the paper later on that will give you pretty much a breakdown or an example of it. So we don't have to go too much into it right now. You'll get it, in the future. Or we'll put it in the civil letter to give you some idea of the structure and how you would present it. Now, a writ in the nature of discovery means like if I say, well, brother, I went to the bathroom, and Article 1, Section 3-501, Hartville jurisdiction says that after 6 o'clock you can't go to the bathroom. There's a fine for that. $5.50 and your lunch money for next week. Oh, man! I got to get another job. And what you should be asking, all right, where's the indictment paper? Without that, I can't proceed. And you have a right to demand it and possess it. Then, where's the jury of my own national peers? You have a right to that. Unless you waive it by not challenging it. And you put it right, see, it ties the court up. But don't get caught up in the trick of trying to introduce this during court session, because they'll block it. You never present documents during a court proceeding. Let the documents precede you. All right? Are we with it? Everybody? Just even with tickets. If you use some of these methods, you're going to find some of the stuff starting to disappear. All right? They're not going to tell you this. I'm telling you this. See, because they've made a whole middle class off the social problems that they've created on you. They live off of your virtues. This is one of the methods on how they do it. And I'm telling you, the appropriate persona is one of the keys of the state of mind you must be in. Don't talk suits if you're not in this state of mind, unless you're ready to give him all your lunch money and your grandma's inheritance and everything. All right?
What do you mean by let the documents proceed?
All right, like say if there's an issue before the court, and say we call you to court, this court, and we call you to court. Don't come to court before something hits this court first. In other words, paperwork with the county, not just with that court, with the county. Hear me? Because the county is the law, not the city. Remember that, you all? All serious documents, etc., in the county. All right? The land. All right? And this is the other thing that everybody should be aware of. Your little townships and cities and stuff like that, they do not operate off constitutional law. They operate off charters. So which means they can use that to bypass their constitutional obligations if you don't object, which they have been doing. Islam.
Everybody needs a mic. Why you need a mic so you can get on the
See, because the county, the county is the public record. The public record. The little townships and everything is corporate record. What they have done in order to maintain slavery is that people who have acquired seats of power or authority in government, which is the supreme law, Constitution, have sold their DOAO outside of your knowledge to private interest and foreign interest in order to slave you so that you won't come and take them out, knowing that slavery still exists, because they fooled you into thinking that slavery ended in the Union State Society. So they use the authority of the United States, the power of the sovereignty, to enforce private law, which they're in violation, which is a felony. They don't operate by constitutional law. They operate by policies of the political parties that subverted the United States. They have a private contract with the American people. They don't operate for the Constitution. So when you're dealing with them, you already know that. You don't argue that with them, since you know that you've got to know how to proceed, meaning that you've got to understand that you're amongst wolves. You know, the average person, when they walk up there, they're not looking at that judge, that prosecutor, and the lawyer that they hired with their grandmom's money as partners. They're looking at this guy going to protect you from some claim. They're partners. They're in a mission to rob you. They're in a mission to subvert the Constitution. They're in a mission to bar, B-A-R, the Constitution. Because if the Constitution was in place, you wouldn't need him. And the judge's obligation is to do what? To enforce the law. And when he sees a tort or a violation against the people, it is his duty to call the immediate police or even the military police, if necessary, to protect the citizens. When your rights are being violated. See how quick they enforce colorable law. If you get a ticket out there, if you parked out there a meter, see how quick they, with all the mechanisms go into a force to get that little coins for you for that colorable ticket. They're supposed to act on the same way when you're violated, without you having to file a suit. That's what government officials are for. But what they did, you all elected me, right? So you elect me as Bibelfetzer guy of the city. So I have delegated authority. What you all should know is that there's a limit to my authority. The DOA will describe what it is. If I do anything that I do outside of good behavior, I've already violated. There is no recompense. I'm out. You don't need to vote me out. And if I don't leave, you have the right by law to come and physically remove me. That's what your real right is. Once a public official violates the Constitution in any form or matter, there is no regress. There's no I'm sorry. He's out or dead. Do you understand? See why they don't want you to know law? Huh? It ain't wait till 4 years for me to screw you some more and make partnership with Enron while they rob your pensions and all this sort of stuff, and then make you pay it back like Silverado Bank, what the Bush father did, when his buddies in the politics, they robbed the banks, robbed your money, what you thought was your money, and then made you pay it back. Oh, you know why? Because they're not operating unconstitutionally, but they also know that we, basically, the people is dumb or arrogant. We're so busy hating Russians that never did nothing to you. You know the communists, they're threatening our way of life and everything, and so you all can do what you want to do. And this is what we've done. They got you so busy hating other people and injuring other people that never did anything to you. This is what the U.S. does. The U.S. Let me back up a little bit so you understand what's happening. And I'm going to reemphasize what I said earlier. The U.S., which is a body of conspirators that the general public is not aware of, and it consists of, in the main part, Knights of Templar. Now the Knights of Templar are servants of the king. And subversives of the principles of isonomy, meaning that they maintain slavery by owning the governments. Do you understand where I'm coming from? Everybody clear? In other words, rather than hold you in servitude directly, which causes rebellion. You understand? If I'm standing up here like this, right, and you're impressed because I said, well, I've got this stuff right here that I can just move this right up and down and I can read your mail right through your pockets. And I've got this ring right here that really is a Bibelfetzer right into your eye, and I can see what's in your bank account. He says, oh man, boy, scared of him, man. Whoa, And when you've got your telephones and I can just signal in everywhere, that's really a tracking device, and you say, oh, wow. I say, well, and I got atom bomb here, right? Then I got a neutron bomb here, right? I got chemical warfare in my finger if I do like that. Oh, you're scaredy. And then I can catch you right through your phone, and you get all impressed. What they don't want the common people to recognize, that I can walk in here with straps of weapons all across here and helmets and Kevlar vests on and all of those stuff, and I can use the power or the sovereignty of government to maintain my own personal corruption, right? What they don't want you to think or recognize is that a little guy over there in the corner that you call lunch can take a 22, come up and pop me right in the middle of my head, and it's all over. Me and all that weight, and then y'all be trying to pick me up with all this weight and all these bombs and everything else like that. They don't want you to recognize how simple it is. Do you understand? So they build up fear. You understand? Guilt, superstition. You need to pay attention to their obligation. The Constitution is their obligation. That's not some instrument that, oh, you know, it's interesting if you all know something about it. And if you don't, oh, it's not important. Why do you think politicians don't teach the Constitution to the children in schools? Because that's the document that gives them the authority to do everything that they're doing. Without the Constitution, there is no government. Once you understand that, you understand where you need to be to protect your Moorish birthright. And the Moorish birthright is to protect the Constitution and to enforce the Constitution. The abuses that you've been getting is because that document has not been enforced. It has not been enforced because you ain't been in your proper person. Y'all been busy being colored people. Do you understand where I'm from? So concept of mind, get out of it. You're not Negro, black, and colored, and you got to be that, not that, officially. That's what nationalization process is for. That's why he did it. Do you understand? These have political ramifications. So it changes your political status in the society for the record. That's number one, because it's documented now. You see what I'm saying? So that gives you a standing at law across the world. Now, do you know what to do with that? That's the next issue. Do you know how to proceed with that? Those are the parts of the information that was suppressed by the subversives, COINTELPRO, etc., that was inverted into this movement with the FBI, CIA, etc., which is really the OSS, to subvert this movement. Having the people think it's a religious movement when actually it's a movement to bring people back into the constitutional fold of government and to enforce that constitution for the protection of all the peoples. But he knew that they could not be protected as Negro, black, and colored because that's a category of a caste system. It's not human. It is not human. Does not pertain to humanity. It is outside of the human family, therefore outside the law, therefore outlaws. So what do you do with outlaws? Do whatever you please to do with them, particularly if you have power. This is the arrogance that them magistrates have been using as judges. Do you understand? Because they know the people don't have rights because they won't claim them. And then the people think that the only way they're going to get them is that if they give them to you. Governments do not give rights. Governments are established to protect existing rights. Those rights are inalienable, that is in reference to government. And the inalienable right is derivative of your birthright, which means it's non-transferable. It can't be sold to you. You can't license it. Once you understand that, hold them to it. And they're obligated when they take that oath of office to uphold that Constitution. And if you start talking about Republican Party and Democratic Party and all that kind of crap, and you start getting into their private matters because it's private policy, and you let them enforce that crap, you just gave up your birthright. This is what has happened to us. And you believe them, you keep believing them. Then they put nigger leaders out who got these fezzes on in secret, and they're usually a reverend with 33 degrees, playing dumb like he don't know what that fez is, like he don't know what that great seal is on that dollar bill. And it's right there on the dollar bill. Pull out dollar bill. Pull out dollar bill, y'all. Anybody got to pull out dollar bill? United States Republic is the only government on the planet that has a dual seal. Is everybody clear what dual means? We know it means two, but I want you need to be clear on this. Dual seal, which means two seals to the one. You fold it, you see the one in the middle, right? You fold it, you put up to the light, you'll see there's an obverse and a reverse. And you look underneath that seal with that pyramid and you know it's not the Vatican. But they keep telling you it's the Christian government. Jefferson told you this government was not founded on Christian principles. And how many people keep talking about Jefferson? You see what I'm trying to say? How we don't pay attention? Now you see that pyramid? Look at it. Now the sun shines from the east even unto the west. And it casts a shadow on that pyramid. And so there's a shadow on the west on that pyramid. And you see an eye on top of that pyramid. But there's a violation of physics in that die cast. And that violation of physics is that the shadow continues underneath the pyramid. which is sitting on sand, which is a violation of physics. But it's in your face, and so most people don't pay attention, so they ain't worried about you seeing it. Right? And then you look at the end of that shadow of that pyramid on the earth, on that plane. See, because you got the vertical and the horizontal. Ain't that a square? Isn't that plumb and level? Man got two positions, plumb and level. Am I correct? He's either prone or he's upright. And that's what he does. That's how he goes through life. And you notice that on the left, on the right of that shadow, you see an acacia bush growing in the sand. What's acacia bush growing in the sand? But acacia also means evergreen, don't it? Evergreen means ever life, don't it? In the sand. Now let's take this eye and let's take this pyramid. And you know how to take that pyramid and then bring that light to the earth? Now keep that pyramid and print it in your eye. And keep it there. Then I'm going to turn the pyramid upside down and keep that and overlap that pyramid. What do you got right there? You got hex alpha, don't you? You got hex alpha, which is your dual trine. Am I correct? Huh? Now look over that bird's head and count them 13 stars. What symbol do those 13 stars make up? Hex alpha. And that ain't Jews. Though we Jews, it ain't what you think it is. But let's look at that shadow when we bring that light to the earth. And you look underneath it and it says the Great Seal, doesn't it? Then take that and put that in front of your face and you'll see that that shadow with the acacia bush becomes a 7 in a circle, don't it? Doesn't it? You see that shadow? Huh? It becomes a 7, don't it? The reason why it violates physics, because the message and the symbology is metaphysical. Now what you got, when you bring that light of Allah to the earth, and you harmonize and balance that dual trine, hex alpha, you now become the master of that seal. And that's the 7th seal right in your face. They handle it every day. That's how you hide it from them. And the sorcerers boast of it. Your job is to undo the sorcerer's work. The 7th seal is yours. The Great Seal is yours. It's up to you to claim it. That's your political platform. That's why this whole movement exists. You don't claim this lost estate? Illuminati got it. They're claiming it until you do. They've been living off your virtues. And they ain't sitting around worshiping those spooky gods either. They just sell them to you through your nigger leaders. Nigger leaders. That keep promoting Negro, black, and color amongst you. That's what they're paid for. But when they get their 32nd degree with the Knights of Templar and their lodges, they get a certificate saying, Assalamu alaikum. And then ritualistically, they take their holy, what they call holy name, or their Muslim name, which is really their Moorish name. And they ain't got nothing to do with religion. It has to do with supreme leadership and rulership of governance. Governmental principles. And they've been ruling you, and they got that sword over your head. Because you playing sleep games. Making a pact with them while you don't honor your own mothers and fathers. And they put it right in your face, and that's a story. You know how they say? You want to hide from niggers? Put it in their face, and you spend it every day. I tell you, whenever you spend a dollar from now on, never have it face up. Snap your fingers and give them the seal. All the time. Now let's go to indexus prohibitorum to let you understand, again, brother, you know, the church's position, and it's not the people. Do not charge the people because they just don't know better. You know, the whole world's deceived because of this game. I'm going to get to you. I ain't forgot you, brother. But I don't want to get too past myself. These things I'm setting you up in your mental state. This must be in your mental state when you're filing lawsuits. Because they are trained to this. Them magistrates, them judges are Masons. From a lodge perspective, we're not dealing with the natural man. You got some of them that are dealing with the principles of the Moabites, those high civilization principles, but you have others who are in there to subvert. Do you understand?
You're talking about the conspirators of government, like the Knights of Templar. Can you elaborate on that a little more?
They're not, the Knights of Templar for the most part now use just the simple term Masons. But I must make it clear, it does not mean Masons are corrupt. Mason is an institution that pretty much maintains a lot of your Moorish history. It's just coded. But many people are in the lodges for the purpose of maintaining rulership over you. They're not intending to enlighten the people. They're intending to subvert you. Do you understand? But that does not mean every Mason in the lodge has that position. You got many clandestine people in there. All Negroes are clandestine. Any Negro Mason is clandestine from day one. Negro black people, because they're fictions. They even asking Europeans, can they wear the red test? Will you recognize us? It belongs to them. Europeans are their sons, who they deny. Now they're being denied. And they don't like it. They call it prejudice. In other words, essentially, we're all one. There's only one nation here, it's the Moorish nation across the world. All nations derive from the ancient Moabites. But they had to corrupt the history. Do you understand? And you go into European family, they start talking all kind of trash to you. Well, go into their family, go into their coats of arms. They're Moors. They're not going to tell you about that Yaqubian experiment, are they? Not the real truth. You know, but that's not, contrary to what most people think, that's not a negative. A lot of people misrepresent that information. It wasn't done for evil intent. It was done to release some karma. And because of falling of civilization, to get back. Because we also needed lighter bodies. That comes from great experiments. So don't misunderstand that. So don't get caught up in that thing that you see out there, you know, white and black people. That's friction. That's total fiction. And that's evil meanness. There's human family and you got nationalities. Respect that. But ultimately, you're the daddy. The problem is that you fell asleep. And they traded places with you. Because you start following after gods of Rome that you didn't know anything about. Because you're dealing with beliefs instead of facts. And he robbed you. That's basically all what happened. And stole your birthright. Or put it another way, you sold it. Like in the book of, they'll tell you in a code manner, coded, like in the book of Genesis, in the Heliotext, chapter 25, 2 and 5 makes what? 7. And they'll tell you about Isaac, son of Abraham, and Rebekah, who married Isaac, and she had 2 sons, Jacob and Esau. And Jacob stole Esau's birthright for a bowl of red pottage. It's code red. You understand? And Esau disrespected, thought his birthright was of no value. What good is it going to do me? Then he became Jacob's servant. Jacob fooled Isaac because he was going blind, and Rebekah aided in deceiving so that Jacob could steal all of Esau's inheritance. Well, that's coded, and that's you. And they reverse it in the womb. Now Rebekah was with child, and she had 2 sons, Isaac's children, offspring of Abraham. So these are dealing with descendants of Abraham. And all the so-called religions claim they're tied to Abraham, which is really modern, truthfully. And it says, in her womb was 2 different nations, 2 different manner of people. Look at that seal again. You got dual seal, but the dual seal is one. It's a metaphysical lesson. And you're living it right now. You want your birthright back? You want your inheritance back? You better understand what's been said to you. And all of those who say they don't know, they've been told anyway. Whether they're Christians, Jews, Muslims, etc. They've all been told. And they're all going to be charged with upholding that law. And if they don't, that includes us, I guarantee you, beyond a shadow of doubt, with my last breath, you'll be sorry. And it's, to a degree, out of our hands in the sense that the cosmic mother is taking this battle up now. So when the prophet moved off with the message, the spirit of our ancestors took that space. And anybody don't carry it out, you're getting hooked. Really? We're going to fulfill this, or we're going to pay the consequences. The European sons are going to tell you the truth. And if they don't, they're going to fulfill the consequences. And if you don't agree to this principle, you're all going to pay the consequences. And there is no way out. I don't care who tells you anything to the contrary. What the prophet did was simply give us some keys, not some emotionalism or some belief system, but keys to get out of this mess that we got ourselves into. You know, in other words, he didn't say, well, you know, feels though this way, or just love stuff. And no, he gave us actual keys. And he says, there's but one issue. And that is the enforcement of this Constitution, because it's divine principles. And if you don't enforce those principles, which is isonomy, which is that compass in the square, which means equal rights for everyone in the society. That's why it was set up on divine principles of nature's God and nature's law. Don't carry it out. Don't worry about what men say. Don't worry about what their customs are. Nature's going to kick your butt. You want to save yourself? You want to save this nation? Enforce isonomy. Enforce the Constitution. And it's yours. Don't look at it as the Europeans' document. It's yours. And if you pay attention, he has been outside the law because he hasn't carried it out. And he, in order to come into the caste system that the Moors had, the Whig-a-Moor party, they called the Whigs party, Whig-a-Moor party, start calling themselves white peoples. Because they could not be free white people. Because it does not mean Caucasian race. Does not mean European race. It's a caste. And so is black. And black is the lowest caste. Now, that's why they don't want you to have the 3rd and the 4th edition of Black's Law Dictionary, because it's in there. But they edited it out of the later editions. That's why the 3rd and 4th is the killers. You understand what I'm saying? So when you're filing lawsuits, this is the body of information that must be in your mind already. It must not be a piece of information that, you know, oh, I heard that before. Don't go there. It must be at the root of the source of your thinking when you walk before Rome. When you walk before the Romans, you better be Moabite for real if you got any defense. And you got the biggest gun in the world. It's called the truth. And that's that scimitar, Abdul. If you don't use it, don't worry, they're going to take your head. You understand? This is the Goliath principle. You know what I mean? Because really, that's what it is. In the book of Daniel, we're talking about that, the monster, you know, with legs of iron, feet of clay. That represents the corruption. So when they got that sword over your head, you take your sword and you hit them feet. It means the foundation. And the foundation, you hit them with the law. And the first law is yourself. But you cannot be the law if you don't know yourself. Keep that in mind. And before I get too far away, let me get back to what we talked about before, indexus prohibitorum, back in the dictionary. This is how proud they are. Because they know we all sorcered up. Now listen. Index, which you already know, is anything used to indicate, to point out, to guide, as the index finger. Oh, you know that, right? Let me give it to you. Anyhow.